What's up, everybody? One Fun Guy podcast in the studio hanging out tonight. Guys, I got new ceiling tiles. They're black with the white, so hopefully it looks okay. They got a little bit of a pattern. Hopefully it's not drawn out too much. I just wanted to try something different in my studio and see what works. I still have the original white ones, but I think these look good. They're 3D, so it's kind of hard to tell. I don't know if you guys can see it. But anyways, I wanted to make mention of something, guys. I did a similar live about I would say maybe a year ago, or maybe a little bit sooner. But guys, have a backup plan in case TikTok goes away. I've been hearing from a bunch of different people, from a bunch of different sources, that TikTok is going to go dark in the US when this apparent company supposedly buys TikTok. I don't know how true it is, guys. Obviously, rumor mills flow out. I'm not in the know with TikTok. I don't know what the future is going to hold. But all I'm saying is just have a plan B. I can't stress that enough, guys. If you can get somebody's email, get their other socials, if you feel comfortable enough getting their phone numbers, guys, please do that. Because if it goes dark and you can't get a hold of anybody and you can't go on, I don't know what's going to happen. I made a video the other day. Some of my friends sent me stuff about TikTok potentially going away. And all I'm saying, guys, is if it does, just be prepared and have a plan B. I don't know if it is or not, guys. I have no idea what is happening with TikTok or the universe that is being created in it. I'm not in the know. But I do know that I am definitely planning ahead, and I am preparing in case one day I go on and it's not there like I did before. So if you guys have this, inability to make money off of another app besides TikTok, go to YouTube and try to monetize that. Because if TikTok goes away, you're not going to monetize yourself on Facebook, and you might be able to monetize yourself on Instagram, but you're going to have to set up a separate bank account, and you're going to have to do the same stuff TikTok does. So just have a plan B, guys. I'm not saying this to petrify you or make you nervous or terrify you in any sense of the way. All I'm doing is just saying, please have a plan B just in case this goes away and you want to find yourself making money and doing other things in this universe. That's all I'm saying, guys. Hey, what's up, Spicy Gaming? So, like I said, guys, Miss Securos, what's going on? All I'm saying, guys, is have a plan B and have a backup plan, right? I know it, Sylvia. I don't know if you want me to call you by your real name on here. That's why I don't do it. I go by everybody's TikTok name, even though I know you, or I might think I know you. Out of respect, I go by everybody's names. So Sylvia, if you're okay with it, that's cool, right? I didn't want to call you out or do anything, right? If you have somebody on here, hold on one second, guys. I'm gonna grab a something to drink. My mouth is completely dry. Sorry, guys, it's going to be a while tonight. Me and Kelly are going on with the pod call, guys, so we are going to be here for a little bit. Anyways, these are my favorite drinks, guys. The Dr. Pepper Zero Black Cherries are phenomenal. They are my go-to. So anyways, yeah, don't call me by my real name, please, right? I get that. I want to respect everybody. I don't know what's cool or not cool. I don't know who you guys have following you or who you guys like. So I don't want to do that. Anyways, what I was saying, guys, before is just please, Tristan, what's going on? All I'm saying, guys, is please have a legitimate backup plan in case you guys are, for whatever reason, trying to figure out the monetization of an app, whether it's this or any other app. All I'm asking, guys, is that you just take it into consideration. All I'm saying, guys, is if you want to monetize another platform, try YouTube, try Instagram if it goes away. I don't want to, like I said, this isn't a scare tactic. This isn't, it's going away tomorrow. But if it does, just have a plan B. That's all I'm saying, guys. With that being said, Kelly's going to hop on. We're going to talk about the pod call tonight. We have some interesting topics to discuss. I'll wait till Kelly gets on. Thank you guys for the love and support and all the likes. I really appreciate it. But we have a topic that we're going to discuss tonight. And then my podcast, guys, I'm trying to get Elliot back on. If you guys don't follow Mondry Writes over on Instagram, please do that. He's a comic book writer and he writes children's books. He talks about mental health issues in those and how to get around them, and he uses his platform as children's books. So if you follow Mondry Writes, Elliot was a guest on my show 2 weeks ago, and he's awesome. So please support him. He just came out with a book. He's got a comic book coming out. You can find him on Amazon. You can find him on his website. You can find him through me. Go to my YouTube page. But Elliot was an awesome guest. But let's support everybody, guys. Kelly, I told you guys last week, Kelly texted me and said that he really, really, really wants to focus on his music. He wants to create music. He wants to write. He is an incredible musician. He's an excellent songwriter. And I'm not saying that just because he's my friend. Kelly obviously is my friend. We do a podcast together. We do a lot of stuff together. But I can honestly say that he is a very talented human being. He's a very talented artist. He's a great musician and he's a great songwriter, and he wants to pursue that, guys. So again, there's no level to what you can achieve in this life based on age and time, right? That's irrelevant, guys, right? There are some 14-year-olds that make more money than I can ever imagine on YouTube. And there's some guys in their 70s that are still creating music. So there is no frame of reference, right? Just make sure you're happy doing whatever you're doing, whether it's here on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, in your real life, in your job, whatever it is. Just be happy being successful with what you have, guys. I am so guilty of it, right? I always tell my friends and people that I always want to win the lottery, and I am very content with my house. I am very content with my truck. I'm very content with the life I have. I am very, very happy. But I kind of want to see how the other side lives, right? Like, how awesome would it be to hop in a private jet and fly to Italy just because you want to, right? I don't have the means to do that. Would I want to? Absolutely. But I mean, I don't, belittle anybody who does, right? If you have the means and you have the money and you have the know-how to do it, awesome, right? I would love to travel the world and do that. I financially can't, but I'm happy where I'm at. I'm not miserable, right? I live vicariously through a lot of people, right, that have money. I'm not envious of them and I'm not mad at them. I'm happy that they got the success that they have. But I also want a piece of that, right? Like, I work hard to have what I have. And I picked a field, unfortunately, in my job where I'm not going to make $100 million. I'm just not. But that doesn't mean I can't do it anywhere else, right? That doesn't mean I can't come up with an idea or something that might pop into my head where I can sell it to an investor and do it, right? I just don't know, right? If I can, awesome. If I can't, I can't. But I like to dream, right? Everybody should dream big. Everybody should follow their dreams, right? Put the affirmations into the universe, right? If you want to do something, say you're going to do it, right? I want to travel the world when I retire. I'm going to do that. I will make that happen. I'm going to continue on with my podcast, and I'm going to make it successful, and I'm going to make it the best that I can make it. I have no intentions of stopping this at all, right? I joke around with my friends that when I retire, I'm going to be able to talk about the things I really want to talk about. Unfortunately, I have to keep things on the wrap for now, right? Which I'm fine doing. I'm totally content with my podcast and the way it is, right? But would I like to get a little bit more spicy? Would I like to get a little bit more racy? Would I like to get a little bit more intuitive? Yes, but I can't do that right now. But I'm very happy with how it's going, right? I've loved the guests that I've had on. I've handpicked all of them. I have some people that want to come on that I'm more than happy to give them a chance to be on my podcast. And I always say it, if you or yourself know anybody who wants to be on my podcast, or you yourself want to be, just hit me up and say, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. We'll figure out a topic to talk about. There's a lot of stuff going on in a lot of people's lives, right? Whether it's their job or their career or their passions, or what they like to do, or hobbies or stuff like that, right? I had my buddy Mike on with Mike's Crappy Fishing. I love Mike. He's awesome. Is his channel the best thing ever? No, but he works hard at it and he has fun. So that's what I like to do, guys, right? I like to support my friends. I like to support, sorry guys, I don't mean to put my hand in the middle of the camera, but for whatever reason, my iPad is not charging, and it should be. So, all right, now it's charging. All right, so we're good. Sorry about that. But anyways, guys, like I said, just be happy with where you're at. Be content. I talked to a friend this morning, right? And she made a great point that says, be happy, right? Be happy in your life. Do the things that make you happy. Worry about yourself. And it kind of resonated with me, right? Because that's what we should all do, right? Strive to be the best humans we can be, right? Are there going to be times you're going to be mad? Yes. Are you going to be angry? Yes. Are you going to have arguments? Yes. But don't let that divulge your life, right? Be happy. Be content. Be nice, be kind, share the love that you have for other people, right? That's the best thing you can do in this world, right? Is give somebody a little bit of a helping hand. Sure, do we all want to protect what we have? Yes. Do we all want to be safe in our own environments? Yes. But that doesn't mean you can't be kind to somebody, right? I said it a few weeks ago, right? You're at the coffee shop and you're waiting there and somebody in front of you is messing up their order and they're getting all flustered and you're thinking to yourself, like, just get the fucking order right? Like, hurry up, get the line moving, get your shit and get out, right? But you don't know what that person's going through, right? They might have had a horrible morning, right? They might have had to put their pet down a few days ago, right? They might have been in a traumatic situation a few days ago. You don't know. So all I'm saying is just act and err on the side of kindness and politeness, right? Just give everybody a chance. I'm the first one at fault, right? I am heavy on the horn, right? When I drive, if you are in front of me and you're driving like an idiot, you are going to know about it, right? I am guilty as could be when it comes to that, right? Do I honk at everybody? No, but if somebody deserves a wake up, I'm definitely going to be the guy that gives it to them. But do I, let it control my driving? No, I'm not a road rager. I'm not, but if you're driving like an idiot, you're going to know that you're driving like an idiot, right? So that's how I operate, right? I don't go around honking at everybody, but I just try to, be content on the road, right? We share the roadway with other drivers. So like I said, guys, my rant's kind of my rant. All I'm saying is be polite, be happy, be kind. You don't know what anybody else in this world is going through, so just give them the benefit of the doubt. Have a little more common courtesy, be a little bit more polite, be a little bit more heavy-hearted, and we'll all be fine. What's up, buddy? What's going on, man? It's been a while.
Yeah, I came in at a good time because that's the philosophy of life. Not just in traffic. It's in everything. Yeah.
So
it's in everything.
So before we get started, I want to ask you, how is that thing going you're doing on the Discord? Are you been successful?
Yeah.
I don't want to tell everybody what it is in case you don't want them to know. So I kind of want to ask around it, but are you doing well in that?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'll give you a brief description. Then I'm on a different Discord where there's a bunch of creators, musicians that are trying to do what I do. And there was a challenge that came up that was, let's write a song in 2 weeks. And they're like, so it's not all metal. It's definitely not people that do what I do. It's a lot of like folk type musicians or pop musicians or that sort of thing. And the requirement was, it's fine if you just provide a sketch that is like, a solo guitar and piano with a bit of a voiceover so we know what the song is like. And then we can produce it in the next while. But what I do is highly produced.
Okay.
So it's like, I have to have a bunch of synth stuff and guitar riffs and drum loops and the vocals definitely need to be part of it. So it's like it's a lot of freaking effort to do what I do and have a song ready to feel like this is close to done in 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's a bit more effort, and
Sure.
I did a little bit of a TikTok post in as a preamble when the challenge started, which was that at one point in my life I actually wrote 4 songs in 2 hours, and that was I was in a punk band. We were recording our second album. The guitar player listened to the songs and he called me. I wasn't in the studio at the time, and he said, "These songs are too poppy. They're too lame. Whatever. We need more hard things, and we need to record them today." So he called me down, and yeah, we sat in the while the singer was recording other vocals. Me and him basically wrote 4 songs in 2 hours.
Okay.
Mostly me, but he was a guitar player, so he added all the flair and he sort of like that stuff, right? I can't do that with this shit. Like that. It's not the type of music where you can do that.
Right.
So I'm struggling a little bit. You hit a wall, like you got a good thing going, and then it's like, yes, and now I just need to get to the hook of the chorus.
Right.
And if the verse is really good,
Okay.
then you have to come up with a much better chorus,
Okay.
right? So that's a problem of songwriting, is that like if you build people up and there's a good verse, like the verse is man, I'm gonna go talk in circles here, but the chorus needs to be better, right, than the verse.
Right.
And I just never got to that point. It's like, okay, what can I do that brings this up? Because it also, well, anyway. So I've been struggling. I've been working for 4 or 5 days on just trying to figure out what's a good next part. It was going well up till day 5.
Yeah.
Now I'm on day 7 or 8, and I'm kind of stuck.
Okay. Let me ask you this: have you met anybody that's kind of caught your ear with stuff that they're doing? Is there any collab maybe that you can do with somebody? Has anybody piqued your musical interest at all? Is that something that you've come across, or have you kind of?
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing the past couple of days. I've been listening to bands that I really admire, and I came across Canadian band. So I went to my Discord, not that Discord where the challenge was, but to my Discord, and I didn't post that as a problem, but it was more like, like here are some bands that are coming up that are going to play at Reggie's in the next few months. And a Swedish guy said, well, there's it was 4 big, huge, super huge bands that are coming to Reggie's. So it was Ulcerate. It was 3 huge bands and 1 lesser. But Ulcerate, they're pretty big. Skeletal Remains are pretty big. Nile are big. Mm-hmm. And then there was a band called Panzerfaust. Yeah. So the Swedish guy said, listen to Panzerfaust for sure. That's a must see. Listen to this stuff. So when I went to the gym this morning, it was that was inspiring. But I also go to some of my favorites to look for inspiration too. Like, can I sort of like subtly steal something, like from Mick Gordon or Godflesh or Anal Natrak or something like that. It's like not necessarily steal from them, but get inspired by, like, because Anal Natrak, like, so many of their songs start full on. So, like, how can you go from a full on verse to have an even bigger chorus? But yeah, so that's what I do when I get stuck is to listen to stuff like that. But Panzerfaust, look it up. Canadian atmospheric black metal shit. It's great. That was an inspiration boost this morning. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Mick Gordon is and for people who don't know, but might be playing video games, he did the most legendary gaming soundtrack of all time, probably for the Doom reboot
Okay.
stuff. So if anyone here plays Doom, the newer stuff,
Yeah.
not the stuff from '93,
Right.
but yeah, he's the guy that wrote the music, so he's
Yeah.
huge.
Nice.
How have you been doing? It's been a while. Like what have you been up to? You went to it. I was totally gonna go to that record fair, and
Yeah.
then I woke up that morning and I was like, nah.
So
It was
you
not
didn't miss
happening.
anything big, right? It was very cool, very local, very eccentric and very small. But they had some cool stuff. I did buy 2 albums there. I bought a War Beast album and I bought the Dark Throne. I found one of the original Blaze in the Northern Sky. So I ended up getting those 2, which were good picks, right? I think Blaze in the Northern Sky, I think I got for like $14, and War Beast, they were in like the half off section. So there was a Mayhem one that I was gonna get, and I didn't do it. It had an alternate cover. It was $20, and it was half of the 40. And I was like, well, I think I can get it cheaper, so I didn't go crazy. But that was pretty fun. And then I've just been working on guests for my podcast. Uh, I was going to do basically one every other week, so 2 a month. And it just so happened that at the end of June and July, I did 3 weeks in a row. So I wanted to pull back a little bit, regroup, start doing some editing, put out more clips and shorts. And so that's what I've been doing. Now I'm lining up for end of July and August.
Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting thing when you're doing this thing. And probably people that are watching now have no idea like what it's like to be a creator and think about this
Yeah.
stuff that you put out. I mean, doing this thing that we are doing now is obviously live and we're just chatting. But if you would turn this into something actually interesting as opposed to just listening to us blabbing,
Yeah.
it could be interesting in the end. But it would take some serious editing to cut out
Yeah.
the right pieces, and you might have to resequence things and stuff. So it's a lot of fucking work to do that.
Yeah. And so I changed my editing software. Matt actually showed me what to use. So I've been using some of the clip stuff that he's been doing. I'm trying to find more of the free ones just because, not that I'm cheap and I don't want to spend $8 a month, but if I could not spend it and get the same software for free, I'd rather do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So but that's pretty much it. I haven't really been up to much. It's just been working and doing the podcast stuff like normal. So it's been good. I mean, it hasn't been bad. And there's the record show's coming up again on the 20th of July. Is it this Sunday or the following Sunday? The same one we went to before. So I'll go back to that one again and see what they have. And try to find just some of the stuff in the $1 and $2 bins and kind of go from there. So
Yeah, no, I also did a bit of a post about other genres or whatever, right? And there were a lot of tips there, which are many names are things that you can find for very cheap at those record shows.
I love that, right? So like I grew up with a lot of Italian crooner music, right? So the Frank Sinatra's, Dean Martin's, Bing Crosby's, Tony Bennett, stuff like that. I love all of that. And then my mom grew up with the old school classic rock. So like, I like Ricky Nelson and I like all the doo-wop bands so I was able to find a couple of those albums there too as well. So I bought a few of those and I have a pretty eclectic, music, right, of what I'm doing, but obviously I go for the metal stuff, but if I find something in the cheap row, right, we'll go from there. So
yeah, no, and in that realm I have Jim Pitney. I don't know if you know about Jim Pitney, but I have that's my favorite in that crooner genre. He's a little bit more high pitched. He's not so much the jazzy guy, but
what's up, Dylan? I hope that's you. I hope that's Dylan for Resist the Temptation.
Resist the Temptation. You're here. That's really cool. I actually listened to their stuff the other day on Spotify.
It's really
they're
good.
releasing some good shit. You had them on too, right?
Yeah.
They
They were awesome.
Yeah, they're great. Um, so the Black Sabbath thing happened
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
also.
gonna say. Uh, is Nuno Betancourt maybe arguably the greatest living guitarist right now? Did you
I
see what he did?
I did not see what he did,
It
so
was
I'll
awesome.
give you. I won't go on too long about it, but it's like I want to. I just subscribed to Kilo concerts, by the way, on the TV, and I'm
Mhm.
hoping that it won't take too long until I can see non people in the audience phone type of footage from the show, right? And I did not want to pay $40 to watch this streaming
No.
service. So I'm kind of holding off, but it's been unmistakable that some clips have come
Yeah,
through.
it was.
But what did Nuno do?
So I actually was able to stream it for free. So I was catching it. I
Oh,
was
nice.
about 20 minutes behind the real feed. A lot of people just kind of snuck in stuff. Um, I got initially started with it when one of the YouTubers made a post about one band in particular that was not a part of the Black Sabbath reunion or Black Sabbath last concert, and he didn't say who it was, but he said there was one band that wanted to monetize it. I guess everybody who went played for free. They got there for free. All they wanted to do was play for Ozzy, right? As homage
Right.
to the great, right? So
As it
he
should be.
said he thought it was Motley Crue that wanted to make
Okay.
money off of it and didn't go. But then a lot of people said that Motley was doing other stuff and that band was Kiss. That Kiss didn't want to go because they wanted to
That
monetize.
makes sense.
They wanted to
Also,
make money.
I could see
So
both.
he said that he's not sure which band or bands it was or wasn't. He left that open to speculation. So my takeaway from the whole concert was the fact that you had all these musicians from all genres, from all walks of life, that basically paid tribute to Ozzy, right? You had Sammy Hagar, you had Tom Morello, you had Chad Smith, you had Travis Barker, you had a lot of musicians from a lot of different non-metal bands playing tribute to them. The guys in Guns N' Roses, right? They covered a few Black Sabbath songs, right? Obviously, you have the big ones, right? Your Lamb of God, your Panteras, your Metallicas. Um, uh, I thought my takeaway was that Metallica was meh.
Yeah,
Pantera, awesome. Gojira, awesome. Lamb
of
of
course.
God, awesome. And the person and the band that stole the show was Slayer. They played phenomenal. So I'm thinking, right, that when you say who's the best heavy metal band in the world, I would probably say a good 75% of people are just going to shout out Metallica, right? They're going to say Metallica, Metallica, Metallica,
Sure.
right? After watching
By default.
the Black Sabbath, my rank would be Slayer number one, Pantera number two, Gojira number three. If I was
Mhm.
going to say who are the three best heavy metal bands in the world right now, that would be my ranking in order. I thought Pantera did a way better job than Metallica. Metallica just seemed like they just wanted to be there to say thank you, that they didn't put their heart and soul into it. A lot of people said the same thing about Guns N' Roses. They only played a couple songs. They didn't do that. The bands that were there and that put their heart and soul into it, Slayer, Lamb of God, Pantera, Gojira, and that eclectic group of musicians that came out. It was Sammy Hagar, Steven Tyler, Chad Smith, Travis Barker, Scott Ian from Anthrax. There were a bunch of people on stage. Guitarist that stole the show, Nuno from Extreme. That guy was amazing. If you watch any of the clips from it, if you were to say who is the best living guitarist right now, I would say Zach Wilde is number one, and I would say Nuno is right there. He did an awesome job.
Yeah.
And not
I
just because he played the Sabbath stuff, he played an Aerosmith song, he played a Van Halen song, he did everything. It wasn't just like Zach doing Pantera and Black Sabbath, which he does very well. But Nuno showed what a fantastic guitarist he really is across the genre. he might be top 5 best living guitarist right now. And I never
Yeah.
would have said that before this show, but right now he is up there. He shocked me beyond belief. He was awesome.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things like, like I definitely listened to even more music back in the 90s than I do now. Um, and I have to admit, a little bit sheepishly, that I actually did buy the Extreme album.
Yeah, Porno Graffiti, everybody had it.
The second one, with a more than words and all
Right,
that
yeah.
stuff on there. But the reason why I bought it was because I admire the guitar playing so much. It's like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
He is
Like
awesome.
it is absolutely nuts. So he's been great for 30 years,
Amy,
right?
thank you. I appreciate that.
But
You are awesome.
it turns out that after listening through that album 3-4 times, it was like, yeah, no, it was an early return to
Mhm.
switch into something else. But because I didn't like the music
Yeah,
so much. But I still recognize Nuno as being like an amazing freaking guitar
yeah.
player.
In this,
But what's important with him too is that he has taste, and
yeah,
that's probably he knows what to play, when to play it. Like he's not just being overly Ingrid Malmsteen just because he can,
yeah,
right? He's playing the right thing at the right time, which is probably also why you got the impression that you just did at that performance, is because he played the right thing the
yeah.
right way
And
with his own
yeah,
personal
and the main thing that I took away from the performance, if you watch it, you'll see what I mean. He did an incredibly great job, but he stayed humble. He didn't get up there oh, I'm the best. Watch me. Everybody pay attention to what I'm doing. He stayed in the back. He stayed off to the side, but the parts he played were impeccable. He didn't miss a note. He played phenomenal. And the thing is the guy looks like he did back in the 90s. He hasn't aged at all. He looks phenomenal. He's in
yeah.
great shape. Like, I mean, and obviously he was a no drug, no alcohol kind of guy, or he stopped at a very, very young age, which shows
Cheers.
because yeah, I mean, he was awesome. And like I said, I liked Nuno before. I liked Extreme, but when he did it at the biggest show, at the biggest stage, and did it right, and he did it with class, and he was awesome. Obviously, Zach is Zach, right? Zach Wild's going to play all the Sabbath stuff. He's going to play the Ozzy stuff. He's going to do everything that he needs to do and do it well, right? Zach is probably, I would say, the best guitarist right now alive, if I had to take a guess. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of good ones, right? The Slashes and, the Brian Mays are still alive and all the classic guys are still around. But if I was going to say a living guitarist that's the best and that's the most well rounded, Zach gets my vote. I would put Nuno top 5 now, listening to him, right? The guy was awesome. I love Slash. I love John 5. I like all the stuff that all the other guitarists do, but Nuno did it with grace and did it with class and didn't miss a beat. And the guy is phenomenal. Like, he was just awesome. So it really changed my opinion of him, but also the music he plays, because he did the Van Halen stuff with Sammy. He did this Aerosmith stuff with Steven. They all covered Black Sabbath. He played those well. He was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, so again, I gotta throw it in there. I have not watched the whole festival thing.
Sure.
Just snippets here and there. But I think that what you're just describing of what he was doing, I think that even when it comes to the guys like Metallica and Slayer, like you were saying, is like they have played so many stadium gigs, for so many decades or whatever, right? Like what could ever get them excited again? Like beyond, like, oh, we're doing another stadium show.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm excited about it, but it's still, we played a
Yeah.
stadium show last night. Um, and that is like we're playing the freaking last show of Black Sabbath, right?
Right.
So that is when, even when you're Metallica, even when you're Slayer, even Pantera, doesn't matter who you are. It's like you are nervous before that show, and you probably practiced like you haven't practiced for 20 years.
Mhm.
and you just want to go out and not embarrass yourself and be absolutely true to what the show is about, because they know, Metallica knows, Pantera know, Slayer know that it's not about them. Yes, people will want to watch them and whatever, right?
Yeah.
But this is still like, this is a Black Sabbath show, and they all know that they have an
Right.
immense,
Sure.
amount of gratitude
Right.
and so on, towards Black Sabbath, right? So they really do not want to fuck that up, like,
Yo,
at
yeah,
all.
for sure.
So
Yeah.
so so that alone to me would have been, worth the price of admission. It's just to see when Metallica really go for it, like when they're really trying their best, or when Slayer are thinking like, this is the fucking shit that we need to do right now, or whatever, right?
See, that's the difference though. When you
That's
watch it,
yeah. So
you'll
I'm
see
sure that
Metallica.
every single fucking band
To
gave it
me, Metallica
everything they
didn't
could.
try their best though. That's the thing. To me, Metallica was subpar. Guns N' Roses, I love Guns N' Roses, right? They were just subpar. They did what they needed to do. They played and they left, right? They played their few songs and they left. Metallica played their few songs and left. I will say this, Slayer put their heart into it. Gojira, heart into it. Lamb of God, heart into it.
Shows
Pantera,
colors, though, right?
the guys in Pantera, obviously, Dime and Vinny aren't there, right? Phil was a huge Sabbath fan. Ozzy, Zach played for Ozzy, right? Pantera was on another level when they played. They stole the show. Pantera and Slayer, by far, the two best bands other than Sabbath playing there. If you were to say it would be Sabbath, then Ozzy doing his stuff, Pantera, Slayer, Gojira, Lamb of God, and everybody else just fell in. Pantera brought it. It was awesome.
I'm so glad you gave me that rundown, because it kind of proves my points a little bit, that I've been, we've been talking about it ad nauseum here about both Guns N' Roses and Metallica, how
Mhm.
they've changed from being good bands into just being in it for the money. So if they just showed up and played their fucking set like they always do and left, then it's like, that proves our point.
Right. And they did, right?
What
They
we've
did
been
a good
saying,
job. I'm not
what
knocking it.
we've been
Right.
saying in like
Sure.
probably 10, 15
Yeah.
podcasts by now,
Right.
is proven by that particular
Right.
fact, is that if they just showed up and played their gig as if it was like, Tuesday, then it's like, yeah, no, okay, go away. I don't
Yeah,
need you.
that's exactly it, right? They didn't do anything spectacular, right? They played. If you went to a Metallica show on any night of the week, that's what you get, right? They're great musicians. They play well together. They sound good. That was it, right? Guns N' Roses, same thing. They played their songs. They sounded good. Slash was Slash. Duff was Duff. Axl was Axl. They played their Sabbath songs and they left, right? But the bands that got into it, that you could tell that were really just happy to be there, were the bands that I mentioned, and you could tell in the way they played that they were playing for something bigger than them. And Metallica and Guns N' Roses just did not do that. And you could tell. And even with Zach, right? Maybe because Pantera has Zach and it's that close to Phil and Zach for Sabbath, because Pantera's covered 4 or 5 Sabbath songs on their albums, right? So they're not far from Sabbath, right? They have a very direct connection to them, and so do Lamb of God, and so do a lot of the other bands that were there, Slayer and stuff like that. But you could tell that those bands wanted to be there and were playing for that reason, and you could tell the bands that just had to be there because they were there, right? Tool, I know you have your likeness with Tool, and I have my likeness with Tool, right? Tool just kind of seemed like they were there. They were happy to be there, but they were just Tool, right? Metallica was just Metallica. Guns N' Roses was just Metallica.
Tool probably think that they're bigger than Black Sabbath. And
So for me, like I said, my takeaway was Gojira was phenomenal. They came on stage and the crowd erupted. You can kind of see they were just like teenagers again, right? They had that kind of smile on their face and they didn't want to show it because they're a hardcore heavy metal band. But on the inside, they were 14-year-old kids back in their basements again. It was awesome.
but they had the benefit of the Olympics thing. Like
Sure.
they had just recently been on a massive
Yeah.
stage doing something that wasn't really meant for them. So
Yeah.
they had that in recent memory. Let me ask you this. I'm going to switch a little bit on
Yeah.
that because my wife sent me Youngblood.
Hmm.
Did Youngblood sing on
So
there? Because
I will tell you this much,
it
right?
sounded great what she sent me, but I wasn't sure.
Ozzy,
I didn't see him on the lineup, but it
he's a
sounded really fucking
he's
great.
he's a British dude, right? He's got kind of a punk goth rock thing. He
Yeah.
kind of has the him look, right? He's got like the short kind of emo hair, and the look is kind of 80s goth, right? Type of thing. He
I
gave
I like the guy,
he
but
gave
I didn't see him
Ozzy,
on the lineup
yeah. So
that
he
he was.
one of his friends is a jeweler, and he gave Ozzy a box, right, of like a necklace and a charm that his friend made for him. And he's like, Ozzy, I want to give this to you. He's like, my friend made this, and it's very meaningful to me, and I want to give it to you. The interaction that they had together was like a father and son. It was, they must know each other, and they must like each other, and they must adore each other, because they were very, very close. Like I said, like a father son type of relationship. And Ozzy must praise him and what he's doing, because they were very good. His music is okay. I like it, but it's not like the best thing ever. But his stage performance was awesome. He did a
But
very, very good job.
But he did perform at the
He
show.
did perform there. And like I said, his uniqueness to Ozzy is very interesting, because it's very anomalistic that he did that, but Ozzy seemed to really respect him and really like him,
So
and that goes
yeah,
a long way.
I was just curious because I got that sent to me, the performance, and I loved it. I think that it's fantastic. Like the
Mhm.
and I've heard other things by him. I think that he has great emotion in his vocals. I'm a fan of Youngblood. I love it. Um, but I just don't remember having seen him on the lineup sheet. That's all. So
Yeah, he
just
played in one of
wanted to make
those.
sure.
It wasn't
But
just him. He
the
he
okay, go
played
ahead.
with that group of people that were on stage. I think Travis Barker was the drummer when he was on. I think Nuno actually might have played guitar with him. I think
Was
Scott Ian,
Changes, right? Or was it
yeah,
Mom Coming Home?
yeah,
I
I
don't.
think Scott Ian was his guitarist, and I think his bassist was Rudy Sarzo. So it was like, it wasn't Youngblood and his band; it was all these other famous musicians behind
Okay,
him. But he did great. He sang great. He did a very, very good job. Sammy Hagar,
that was great.
right? Sammy Hagar has no connection to other than the history between with him and Ozzy, right? But he brought it. He's Sammy, right? He was a consummate performer. He did the Black Sabbath songs awesome. He was like happy to be there. He's just like a fan. And I think you could tell the musicians who are fans that were happy to be there showed. The people that went because they just had to go showed. And I'll leave it at that.
At the end of the day, as a show, there was a lot of criticism beforehand at the ticket prices and
We're gonna get there.
all the stuff around the sort of the pre stuff shit, right? I personally had nothing against any of that. I would say that they could have put the ticket price at $2,000, and whoever thinks that it's worth $2,000 to go to see that show,
That's it.
go go. I don't care, right? Because if a person feels like it's worth that kind of money for them to go to have that experience,
Sure.
and they feel like when they walk, this is the key point, when they feel like they walk out of there that they got their money's worth, then we're all good. Nothing has been wasted. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Aussie has made a few more dollars to extend his life for a couple more weeks or whatever. I'm sorry, but you see what I mean? Like, like what's the harm? There's no harm in any of that if everybody feels like they got out of it what they put into it. And that's so two-parter here. Part one, that is why I will keep disliking Metallica, because they just came in and mailed it in and just did their usual like 4 songs, whatever, right? It's like, no, put some fucking effort into it, all right? This is the last freaking Black Sabbath, the band that made you, okay? Pay some freaking respect, right? Yeah. Sorry, but I'm pissed off about it if they just went in and mailed it in. So it's still like people expected big things from Metallica and the other bands, and it seems like Slayer, Pantera, whatever did that. I know there was a bit of what do they call, Disturbed. I think that there was some controversy around that singer.
But so that was more unfortunately with the Disturbed situation. That was more political than it was music.
Oh, it wasn't more like a Palestine-Israel type.
Yeah, it was more of that, right? And the UK, unfortunately, does have a big Muslim population, so a lot of them booed Dreaming when it came on, but it wasn't because it was Disturbed. It was politically motivated or religiously motivated. It wasn't because he did a bad job. He's got a great voice, and he did fantastic. But it was because of the other shit. It wasn't because of that.
Okay, well, we can toss that aside then. But at the end of the day, it's like, it's a big freaking deal. I love that they did it. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I chose not to, I didn't want to do the live stream because I'm going to commit to it that day for that long or whatever, and for that price. But so I'm hoping that, I'm very sure that it will come out as something that can be watched in full later on. But I'm a huge fan of Sharon Osbourne. I think that facing what she's been facing for 50 years or so, managing Aussie as a person, managing Aussie as a business, managing Ozfest and all the business interests and all that stuff, that's all freaking Sharon, right? So I am looking forward to, because she planned it, right? I mean, with Aussie's input, I'm sure. But I'm sure that the whole show was planned by Sharon.
And you know who else had a lot of input in it that I've been hearing is Kelly. Had a lot to do with that, putting that together.
Man, their family business, right? I'm sure that Jack had something to do with it too, right? But I really think that Sharon, who has, Ozzy is Ozzy. Yeah. He's been a rock star through the 70s when she was with him. Holy shit, did rock stars do bad shit in the 70s. And for someone to stay with Ozzy through all that, and then his extreme substance abuse in the 80s, and she is still stuck with it and still managed to manage all his business and all that stuff, right? So for her to more or less plan this last show with Black Sabbath, I also feel like, now she's going to retire, but she also, not just Ozzy, but she also wanted that to be her last grand opus, right? To be perfectly planned, to have the right people sequenced in the right way and all that stuff, right? So I would love to see a Sharon's director's cut of that show at some point, like Sharon's take.
Yeah.
I would love that.
And I'd imagine that it'll probably come down the pipeline, right? I'm sure they'll make an Ozzy movie, right? and it'll be the Osbournes, and they'll figure out the characters to play the stuff. I mean, it'll happen.
Sure, but what we have to remember, right? Ozzy has been a really fucked up person for a very fucking long time, and who has kept things going, right? Who kept the machine going? It's mostly Sharon. Like it's definitely the woman that should have had much more exposure and much more. I mean, she got famous because of the Osbournes TV show,
Right.
but really, Ozzy would not be who he is today if it was not for Sharon. He would have had his Black Sabbath fame, fine. But his longevity into 2025 would not have happened if it was not for Sharon and
Ozzy.
One of the most amazing women in rock history.
Ozzy has onset Parkinson's. If you're
yes, and he also said that he had to have some spinal surgery that afterwards he he wishes that he didn't have, and like there's all that stuff, right?
It really hasn't hurt his vocal cords at all or his diaphragm to sing, but he can't stand. So that's why they gave him the chair. He had very limited movement, lower half, but he was able to move his arms, and he was able to do the Ozzy wave and do all the stuff and the come on. And, he sang good. I'm not going to say he was great, but he's Ozzy, right? He could do what he wants. But he did sound good. He sounded good at that age. But the Parkinson's hurts him from moving. That's about it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at what did to Michael J. Fox and how bad he is, it's pretty crazy that that Ozzy is as good as he is with that disease too.
And that's the thing, right? When you look at all these rock stars that have longevity, right? That Ozzy had that gene where the drugs didn't affect him the way they should. Because you would look at all the amount of drugs he's taken. Number one, should he not be alive? But he should have some serious health issues, right? I mean, you talk about damaging your liver and your pancreas and your, all these other parts of your body that should be deteriorating with years and years and years of drug abuse. Haven't really seemed to affect him that much.
Yeah. I will quote Keith Richards on this one because Keith is another one of those, right? And Keith, I heard him say one simple sentence. It was that I was smart enough to know when to stop, right? I knew when to not take another shot. I knew when to not take another snort. I know, it's like I'm on a good high. And I'm not gonna try to make it better from here. And Ozzy might have been a similar person, but Ozzy was
right.
But he was obviously also surrounded by, again, I'll credit Sharon. People that cared about him and just said, buddy, lay off of it for a while, cut down, go to rehab, whatever, right? So he might have been stopped by people that cared about him at the right times in his life.
Yeah, and then again, right? We don't know what goes on, right? He might have had the super gene, right? That he could power. Some guys have it.
I'm sure that there are people that have more tolerance than others. Some of it can be trained if you sort of incrementally increase whatever. It's like antibiotics. People get and resistant to antibiotics. Whatever.
And then also too,
and there are people that can't handle it all. I mean, there's one of my favorite actors, Richard E. Grant, who I don't know if you know him, but he was in Beetlejuice. He was sort of like the new husband type thing. But anyway, he couldn't hold alcohol at all. He was like, like if I have more than one glass of wine, I throw up, and so. Yeah, bodies react differently.
Yeah. So another big controversy talking about the Sabbath thing was they mentioned Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, who didn't show up. Do you look at them as direct competitors and say, why would we go to this one where, not, I wouldn't say enemies, but they were competition for many, many years, right? Who was the better band, Iron Maiden or Sabbath? Priest or Iron Maiden, Priest or Sabbath, right? Do you think those guys kind of have that friendly type attitude where it's like they're competitors, but or do you just think that they just are pure competitors and they didn't want to go? Because they said Halford didn't go, and nobody from Priest went, and nobody from Iron Maiden went.
Yeah. No, it's a very interesting question, and I haven't really thought about it deeply, but just winging it, I do feel like it's a little bit like how punk rock reacted against symphonic rock, against the ELOs and like the elaborate things, right? It was like, I think that I think that the NWABM, the new wave of British heavy metal, might think of that old school as in, because they were all British. We're talking about Black Sabbath. We're talking about Uriah Heep. We're talking about Blind Faith. We're talking Black Sabbath. We're talking about, Cream, whatever, right? Those heavier bands, Led Zeppelin. And they were like, you guys are all just a bunch of fucking hippies. And I think that it was easy for them to bundle Black Sabbath into that hippie movement of all those other bands. And it's like, yeah, no, we're going to go fucking hard. It's kind of like Lemmy also, like he was in Hawkwind and it was like, oh, fuck you guys. I want to play hard shit. So it might just be that they were reacting against that whole movement of the sort of the hippie, stonery 70s shit. It's like, yeah, no, we're doing like real energy rock shit here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's my sentiment. I honestly feel like not until later with some bands like Halloween or Blind Guardian or Hammerfall even or whatever, right, was then that there was a convergence between the Black Sabbath inspired metal bands and the NWABM, anti whatever they were in the 70s, that it converged into a new thing. But it wouldn't surprise me if Iron Maiden would feel like they're detached and would say that, we owe nothing to Black Sabbath. They owe more to folk music. They owe more to other types of things. I think that would be justified.
Yeah, honestly. It was a valid point because they did mention the fact that they never really toured together. They never really acknowledged each other. They never really talked about each other. They never gave each other praise, right? It was kind of like...
Tell me one Iron Maiden song that sounds like Black Sabbath, Like, it's...
Yeah, like I said,
you'd be hard pressed to find one, right? We probably could find
maybe a Dio-ish right? Sabbath song might sound like them. I would say, kind of.
Dio is still American,
I'm saying, if I had to pick one, it would be a Dio era Sabbath song that would probably sound more like Iron Maiden.
But it was
not also, an Ozzy era. Nothing Ozzy.
That was an era when Black Sabbath were trying to adapt to the NWABM thing as opposed to glam and hard, the hard rock, the 80s thing. They had nothing to do with Black Sabbath at all, right? Or Kiss or Black Sabbath were in deep trouble in the early 80s for sure.
But I will say this though, right? Because Kiss,
but it was. Sorry, let me just finish my thought. But so it was kept alive by Venom, by Possessed, by Killing Joke, by other people that really still enjoyed the dark thing, but they were still very much in the underground, waiting to get up top. So
sure, but here's my point though, right? Like Iron Maiden never played Ozfest. Judas Priest did. Kiss never played Ozfest, but Kiss acknowledge Ozzy, right? Gene Simmons and Ozzy made a movie together. right?
Sure.
They at least acknowledged the fact Iron Maiden's never really acknowledged Black Sabbath at all, right? In any capacity, right? They've never really done anything. So I could at least say Halford and Ozzy might not be the best of friends, but I think they at least acknowledge each other, right? Like Ozzy said that, Rob Halford is a great vocalist, and they at least nobody's ever said, like, Ozzy's never said Bruce Dickinson's a great vocalist. Bruce Dickinson never said anything about Ozzy. So I was just curious. It was funny because somebody made mention of it. I could understand.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
But it's
I never thought about it. But
it
I can
sparked
see
my
why.
interest, right? Because it's like, do you have the Rocky Drago relationship, right? Where you were bitter enemies for all this. And then, as they got older, they kind of realized the mutual respect they had for each other. Because Iron Maiden didn't acknowledge it at all. I think Halford said something to the effect of like, God bless them for doing what they're doing and, having all this stuff. And, I don't know if Gene Simmons said anything particularly about it, but like, at least he's acknowledged Ozzy before, but Iron Maiden never really has, right? You just kind of, so when they said it, I don't know if they even got the invite, right? Did Iron Maiden even get invited? And they said no way, or did they not even get the invite? I don't know.
I would imagine that they wouldn't. I mean, this is the first time it's a great question. I will keep thinking about this after we're done here.
Right.
It's the first time it's been brought to me, but it's a very interesting question, and my gut right now, my instinctual response is that Iron Maiden probably feel like they owe nothing to Ozzy Osbourne.
I could agree with that. And again, it shows, right? Because they've never really acknowledged each other, right? Ozzy Osbourne's never said anything that I know of about Bruce Dickinson. Not that they don't like each other, but they've never acknowledged the fact that either other band exists.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the bands that they came out of, like Samson or whatever, right? They were grounded in punk rock, which were reacting against bands like Black Sabbath and the sort of the hippie movement. That Black Sabbath could easily be associated with, except that they were much darker. So yeah, I mean, it might very much be that the Iron Maiden folks were like, fuck you, old dudes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Psych rock, progressive guys, like we want to play hard and fast.
Right. Yeah.
And you guys are just drudging along and you're playing your 10-minute long songs or whatever, right? Like, screw that. Like I could see that being like, a disdain. We have to remember. It's just weird. We have to remember, right? When the Black Sabbath was released in what, 68, and Iron Maiden's debut was in 77, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Or 80 even? I mean, it's still a long freaking time. It's like comparing, Appetite for Destruction in 1990 to what was released in 2003, like Meshuggah Obscen. Like there's so much time and so much development that happens between then. So it's perfect validity in saying screw you to the people that did something big, 12 years ago. So yeah, I mean, I could see that from Iron Maiden, that they just think that, yeah, good for you. You did nothing for me.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And obviously, right?
I respect you for your musicianship, but we have nothing to do with you.
The Sabbath
why would you talk to me?
Right. Is having the bands that have been influenced by Sabbath play. It's not like an Ozfest where they were trying to find brand new bands to come and play the show. They wanted the best of the best, right? They wanted the people that were influenced heavy by Black Sabbath. So you got what you got. It wasn't like, let's find the newest bands and bring them out, right? But it was just one of those things where it was like, I think that the bands that were there were obviously handpicked by Ozzy and Sharon. You could tell that, right? And the ones that showed the most empathy and humbleness were the ones that kicked the most ass.
Yeah. Well, and Iron Maiden never certainly needed Black Sabbath or Ozzy. Like
No,
Iron Maiden, from 1985 onwards, they had consistently bigger crowds than anything Ozzy did. And maybe here's just theory that popped into my head right now that maybe Ozfest was a reason to show that Ozzy could drive a bigger crowd than fucking Iron Maiden.
yeah.
I need some help with more bands. I need to do a festival.
I mean, I think once Black Sabbath did their initial reunion in 90, was that 7 or 98, when Pantera opened for them on that like global thing that they did, right? The first time that the 4 Black Sabbath guys got back together, like that solidified Ozzy and Sabbath, right? Because that tour was massive, right? That emasculated a crap ton of money, and people were spending an absurd amount of money. That was like the Page and Plant reunion of the 90s, right? 95 or 96 when they got together. But I think that really solidified Black Sabbath. So I don't think if Ozzy went on tour with a bigger band, that he would have been able to headline and co-headline stadium around. But I think Ozfest was really cool because it introduced a lot of bands to the world that would have never been introduced had it not been for Sharon, Jack, and Kelly picking these bands to go on Ozfest.
Yeah.
And Slipknot is one of them.
Yeah. It's like I wouldn't go to see just Ozzy at Soldier Field, but he also has, let's say, Limp Bizkit or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm sold. I'll buy the ticket. So yeah, that's definitely part of it.
And that's the thing, right? Look at all the bands since Ozfest 97 or 96 was the first one through 2006 or 2007, I think was the last one. So let's say a decade, right? We'll go 97 to 2007, right? Look at all the bands that became big, huge names because of Ozzy and Sabbath bringing them on tour with them, right?
Yeah.
And I can think of at least a dozen off the top of my head that if it not had been for Ozfest, nobody would have known who they were.
Yeah. No, and I mean, and it's very strategic too. So again, credit to Sharon, right? Because it's definitely Aussie branding, as Aussie being someone that is supportive of the smaller bands, right? But the bands that are on the right level, they can be interesting and get more people into the doors. It is a good type of marketing, I would say. It's like when you think that bringing up and coming interesting bands that you like is also good for your own brand to put in. I think it's a good strategy. I mean, it's still business. Unfortunately, it's harsh.
Sure, that's what it is.
But it's still a business. I mean, they still have to break even. They still have, make money out of it.
Yeah. So apparently, I said,
it's a cool branding strategy to instead of we're gonna have the biggest bands on the planet, it's like we're gonna have the most interesting bands on the planet. Which is to the scene that we're in. Us folks that are more into the bands that are under the surface, that appeals to us more. But they may have made more money if they said, well, we're going to do Ozfest with Ozzy and Metallica and Slipknot and just the biggest bands on the planet, right? Because if every single band on that, they would have accepted to go to do that, and people would have accepted paying $1,500 a ticket because it's like, holy shit, what a fucking lineup.
Yeah.
Right.
Now you look at it, right? Slipknot did Not Fest.
Yeah,
they tried to make
you told me that the one time they did the 10 a.m. slot on a side stage. Yeah,
it didn't really work. Ozzy, there was something about him and Sharon putting that together that worked. The one with Slipknot didn't work, right? They're trying to do that one with Jamie Josta now, where he's running that festival again, where Hatebreed is headlining, and they're having all these other hardcore bands on, right? Which is a kudos to Jamie Josta, right? Because he's awesome in the metal world, right? He's kind of the sub icon now, right? Like a lot of people gravitate towards him. But I don't think that's going to have the longevity that Ozfest had with the amount of people that would show up all day long. Like it was something insane, right? To see it was really incredible when you think about it.
Yeah. No, but like I said, so and again, I give full credit to Sharon for being masterminds around that stuff. Like, what is the most savvy marketing theory behind this? But I also do think I don't think that it comes from just pure financial marketing stuff. I really do think that, especially after Ozzy broke out on his own, that it was like, who is this Randy Rhoads guy? Or whatever, right? Like they really do recognize that there are up and comers that are absolutely fantastic, and they will not rise to stardom unless they get the exposure. So I do very much appreciate that from Sharon's and Ozzy's perspective, that's been part of their mission. Yeah. I don't know how to finish that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, and like I said, wrapping up on the hour, just as kind of like the plug, right, is that obviously when you look at the metal community, right, and you were to say the one guy in metal that's kind of changed the scene, you really can't say anybody but Ozzy, right? You can argue other people, right? You can argue Halford, you can argue Bruce Dickinson, you can argue a lot of the other guys, right? But when you say if somebody was the godfather of metal, it's hard pressed not to say Ozzy.
And I would add to that, how many of those people that you just mentioned actively pushed for the promotion of other bands than themselves? Ozzy has actively promoted other bands than himself. Like he's like, I want you to go on tour with me because I think that you are fucking great. I want you to play on Ozfest because, Slipknot, I know you're teeny tiny. You get a 10 a.m. slot on the side stage, but man, you guys, just rip it and you will do fine. And you got my support going forward anyway, right? So I could be wrong, but I don't know any bands off the top of my head that were Bruce Dickinson sort of promoted, or Rob Halford promoted, or Angus Young, or any of those bands. Like I can't. So Ozzy has that legacy as well, that he actually actively and recognizably pushed for other bands to make it and get into the limelight, which is being what he is, is admirable. Love it. And Sharon, again, I think that Sharon's been a big part of that too. It's like
yeah.
So,
although on that note, Bruce Dickinson can fly out of an area that his band needed to get away. So there is that, right?
There's that.
He's a good pilot, right?
Yeah.
He gets you out of there.
He can say, that guy's a better pilot than me.
Exactly.
You should, if you want to go on a plane, you should fly with that guy instead of me. By the way, you're on this plane with me now, so good luck.
Right. But I think though it was a great concert. You should definitely just invest the time on YouTube to watch it. But if you're gonna pick and choose, like I said, Ozzy doing his thing was great, but Pantera was awesome, Slayer was awesome, Lamb of God was awesome, and Gojira was awesome. Those are the top four.
I I am not surprised by it. I am not surprised that Metallica mailed it in because I kind of wanted them to.
Yeah,
To be honest,
I mean, Metallica was
my
Metallica.
fucking point.
They were no better
They're
or no
fucking
worse than any
assholes.
others, right? Axl was the same way. Guns N' Roses did good because they're Guns N' Roses, but the bands,
Yeah, but Guns N' Roses, the Guns N' Roses still have more more about the punk thing. Like they're not indebted to Black Sabbath.
No.
They're more like the New York Dolls that we've talked about before.
Yeah.
Like like Guns N' Roses are New York Dolls 30 years later.
Yeah, they're all, they're. I think Guns N' roses is like the Motley Crue scene, where if it wasn't for Ozzy taking them on tour with them, they might not have gotten their start in the business, right? Motley Crue toured with Ozzy and they blew up. If it wasn't for Ozzy, there would be no Motley Crue.
I feel like Guns N' Roses. Maybe I'm wrong here. But I feel like Guns N' Roses was one of the first bands that said that the Motley Crue, Poison, what are they called? Whatever those glam bands. It's like they're fucking wrong. Let's just get back to fucking rocking. It's not about girls. It's not,
they have the punk attitude for sure.
We just want to play some rip and rock, okay?
Yeah. And that was
so I do respect Guns N' Roses for that thing. Is that they?
So the
I
story
feel like they broke away from the
right.
whole
So
crew.
LA Guns was the first Guns N' Roses, right? It was Axl and Tracy Guns were in the band together, right? They were Hollywood Roses.
Yep.
Slash was auditioning for Poison. And he basically said, when you come out, we announce everybody's name, right? Drummer, Ricky Rocket. Drummer, singer, Brett Michaels.
DC DeVille.
DC, right. So they said, we're going to announce you as Slash when you come out. And he's like, no, I don't want that. So they're like, well, that's what we do. That's kind of our gimmick, right? We announce the band members as they come out. And Slash is like, well, I don't want to do that. So he's like, I don't think this is for me. So when Tracy Guns joined LA Guns and Axl was the guitarist, Slash was just on the scene. That's how they met. So Slash could have been in Poison.
It's I'm glad that he wasn't. No, I don't think that it would have worked out anyway.
It wouldn't, right? It's not.
Slash plays guitar dirty. He doesn't play clean, right? Which is what I loved when because I was a punk rocker when I heard Guns N' Roses, the Appetite for Destruction, and as a punk rocker, I loved it because it sounded fucking dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And I had people that tried to get me to listen to Faster Pussycat and Poison and Cinderella and all that shit. It's like no, it's not for me.
Right.
But then the guitar of Guns N' Roses and Axl's vocals too, and Duff's, like it was all just dirty.
Yeah.
It was messy in a good way. I mean, it's still tight, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it was not like like twiddly-dee,
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like it was, and maybe Duff is the one to credit the most of that too. It's like because he was a going back way back
funny,
before Guns N' Roses. Like he was deep into the punk thing,
right? Because the two bands of the '80s that had the most punk sound were Guns N' Roses and Skid Row, and they were punkers. They grew up on the punk scene, and you could tell in their sound that's the way they play. Listen to Skid Row.
But they were in LA, so they couldn't play punk, right? LA punk was germs where people died. That was the type of thing where if you're in a punk band in LA, you were slated to die from drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, well, I don't want to die from drugs, so I'll play one of the Sunstreet bands. But Duff definitely, I think, had a lot of influence in the Guns N' Roses.
Oh yeah, for
attitude for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'll wish you the best of luck on your endeavors. Right? Keep us posted on what happens. I wish you the best of luck. Right? We'll obviously keep in touch and figure out what's going on. I'll go live from the record show. You're more than welcome to come with me. That's July 20th. If you want to meet up and do that, fine. If you're busy, I get it. And then we'll do that, and then we'll say not this week, but then the next week, right? 2 Thursdays from now, we'll be back.
Sounds perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
So once again, guys, follow Kelly and what he's doing. Pay attention to his channel because he's cryptic with what he's got going on, but he's obviously out there. He's opened up about it tonight. But like, let's wish him the best, guys, right? It's not an easy task, right? To write 4 songs in 2 weeks is not easy. If anybody could do it, Kelly could do it. He's way more talented than he gives himself credit for, and I have no worries that he's going to pull it off. I can't wait to hear what he comes up with.
You're too kind. Thank you so much. And yeah, everybody follow Mark for sure.
I appreciate
Interesting
it.
life stories and definitely a lot of interesting metal stuff. But as every metal person knows, we're not all about metal all the time. So we're all into life.
That's it. So
follow Mark.
With that being said, guys, I appreciate it. Follow Kelly, follow us, like, support, share what we're doing, pay attention to what we have going on, guys. We're not going anywhere. We're just kind of separating our lives. So we're still here. We'll be on in 2 Thursdays. I'll drop the links. But thank you guys for the love and support. And like I said at the beginning of the show, just show a little compassion towards other human beings. Be the best version of yourself. Be happy. Do what makes you happy. And we'll enjoy this life together.
Well said.
All right. Peace and love, guys. We'll see you on the next one.